Welcome to Section 3 of the tutorial for creating an interactive Excel dashboard. In this section, we will be creating the calculation product worksheet. Open the Excel file that you saved at the end of Section 2. Remember that these 5 sections need to be completed in order. This section has 5 steps. We will be working on the calculations worksheet for products. We will be copying a few pivot tables and we'll be using conditional formatting in one of those pivot tables. One of the pivot tables we edit will be a top 5 products pivot table. Finally, we will be creating dynamic text strings. In the calculation division worksheet, click in cell B5 of the pivot table. Next, on the Pivot Table Analyze tab, click on Select. In the drop-down box, click Entire Pivot Table, then hit Ctrl-C to copy that pivot table. Navigate to the Calculation Product worksheet and click in cell B4, then hit Ctrl-V to paste that copy of the pivot table into this worksheet. We are copying the pivot table because creating new pivot tables takes more Excel resources than simply copying the pivot table and modifying it each time you need a pivot table of the same data table. On the Pivot Table Analyze tab, click on Filter Connections. In the dialog box, uncheck Division. Click OK. In the Pivot Table Fields box, drag Division out of Rows box and drag Region into the Rows box. On the Pivot Table Analyze tab, click on Insert Slicer. In the drop-down box, check Region. Click OK. Copy the pivot table from cell B4 to cell B14 using the directions in the previous step. Those directions were Pivot Table Analyze tab, select Entire Table, Ctrl-C, and then Ctrl-V. Drag Region out of the Rows box and drag Division into the Rows box. Drag Year into the Columns box and drag Sales Revenue into the Values box twice. Right-click in cell D17. In the drop-down box, click on Show Values As, then Percentage Difference From, then make Base Field Year and Base Item Next. Change the header for the second column by clicking in cell C16 and then typing a space, and then Sales Revenue in the formula box. You will get an error message if you don't type a space before Sales Revenue because Excel has already used the field name of Sales Revenue elsewhere. By adding a space into the field, it makes it a different field name even though it looks the same. Change the header for the third column by clicking in cell D16 and then typing Percentage Change Prior Year. To include the change symbol, click on Symbol in the Insert tab and select the correct symbol. If the change symbol, delta symbol, does not appear in the Recently Used Symbols section, we will show what to do next. If the change symbol or delta symbol does not appear in the Recently Used Symbols section, you can use the code associated with the character. Select Unicode Hex in the From dropdown and then type 0394 into the character code box. Now click the filter icon next to Division. In the dialog box, check all 3 divisions. Be sure not to check the division or divisions with an error. Here we have office supplies as one word as the error. You may have different errors in your data set. Select cells C17 through C19 and right-click. In the drop-down box, click on Format Cells. In the dialog box, click on Accounting and 0 decimal places. Repeat for cells C17 through E19. Drag Sales Revenue to the Values box again so that we can show the base year or prior year values. Right-click in cell E17 and then click on Show Values As, then Percentage Difference From, and then make Base Field Year and Base Item Prior. click in cell E17. On the Home tab, click on Conditional Formatting. In the drop-down box, click on New Rule. In the dialog box that appears, click all cells showing sum of sales revenue values. Then choose Icon Sets Format Style and choose the 3 triangle style. Don't hit OK yet. Next, click on the Show icon only, then change the type to number and no cell icon for less than 0 and greater than 0. Adjust column E so that it is narrow. Click on the heading, cell E16, and in the formula box, type a blank space so there is no visible heading for the column. You cannot have blank headings in Excel, so inserting a space is a way to create a heading that looks blank. Now we are going to create a current year's sales by division pivot table and chart. Start by copying the pivot table from cell B4 to cell B24. In this new pivot table, drag region out of the rows box. Drag division into the rows box. Drag year to the filters box. Drag sales revenue to the values box. Use the filter to show all 3 divisions and the current year. Format the sales column as accounting with 0 decimals. Now we are going to create a chart. Select cells B24 through C27 and on the Insert tab, click on Column Charts. Choose the first column chart. Click on the unwanted elements of the chart and hit the Delete key on your keyboard to make them disappear. You will be removing the title, grid lines, series, and legend. Next, right-click on one of the field buttons on the chart. In the drop-down box, click on Hide All Field Buttons on the chart. Now we're going to add data labels to the chart. Right-click on one of the columns in the chart. In the drop-down menu, click on Add Data Labels. We are going to make the data bars closer together to improve the look of the chart. Right-click on one of the columns in the chart and in the drop-down menu, click on Format Data Series. Next, increase gap width to 100%. Now we are going to make another pivot table to show the top 5 products. As before, copy the pivot table from cell B4 to cell B31. In the new Copy the Pivot table, drag region out of the rows box. Drag product into the rows box. Drag sales revenue into the values box. Drag year into the filters box. Delete the first column heading. Remember to put a blank space in the formula box for the heading cell. Set the year filter to current. Change the second heading to sales current year. Finally, format as accounting with 0 decimals. Right-click in cell C32 and in the drop-down box, click Sort. Then click Sort Largest to Smallest. Now we are going to create dynamic text strings for the headings in our dashboard. The heading wording will change depending on which slicer button is clicked. In cell F5, type the formula equals sales revenue by product in the blank region. Note that the spaces in the formula are important, so be sure to include them as illustrated. In cell F6, type the formula equal top 5 products sold in the blank region. The final step is to type sales revenue by region in cell B1. The calculation product worksheet is complete. Click the different regions on the slicer buttons to see how the data changes. We are now done with section 3 of this project. Please save your Excel file. You will be using the file for the next section of this project. This video was created by Dr. Wendy Tietz. Have a great day.